Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It's going to be a hot one today. They're saying we may even come close to record-breaking heat here in the Ozarks. Yesterday was quite warm. Storms coming in later this week, but right now just a lot of heat, and we're not the only place that's been experiencing that. In fact, several places here in the United States and around the world has been experiencing some pretty severe heat, and we're just into May. Like we're not even into summer yet. Like, just wait, folks. It's only going to get worse, and that's really what I want to talk about today. I know this isn't an exciting subject, but the vast majority of you that watch this, you're primarily homesteaders. You know, I tell you all the time that there's three levels. Not four, three. Three levels of preparedness. Number one, first level, entry level, that's being a prepper. You know, going out, anybody can do that. Anybody can go out and stock up on food, have cases of cans, have freeze-dried food, all that kind of stuff. That's level one. Level two is homesteading. That's advanced prepping. That's where you're not only stocking stuff away, but you're producing things. You're becoming self-sufficient, okay? So you're not just prepared for something bad. You're prepared to live a lifetime of rough times. And so that's level two. And then level three is really developing an entire self-sufficient community. And so I know that's where a lot of you are at or wanting to be is that level three. But all of that is greatly affected by the weather. We can only grow as much as the weather allows, really, in a lot of ways, and it's been crazy. And I'm afraid the weather's just going to get worse. And I'm not trying to be some doom and gloom guy today. It's just what it is. In fact, and I know this is one of those subjects. It's hard because a lot of the stuff out there in the news is really mixed in with this man-made climate change and all that kind of stuff, man-made global warming and everything. There is climate change happening. The Earth, I believe, is warming. I don't believe it has really anything to do with man. It has to do with just, it's a cycle. You know, the sun's doing its thing. We're in that cycle. It's not the hottest we've ever been on the planet, but it's definitely going through a warmer period. And so we need to prepare for that because that greatly affects our abilities to be self-sufficient. Because the number one, in my opinion, thing that you need to be doing as a self-sufficient person, as a self-sufficient family community, is production of food. Your water and your food. Because in the end, you know this, in the end, all the other stuff is just to make that better, because you cannot live without food and water. You may be able to live without a firearm, if you're lucky enough to never have to need one. You could even live without a home, if you go out here in the woods and build you some kind of primitive shelter. But you got to have food and water. And that's going to become more difficult. The projections, and again, this is probably, there's maybe some wonky science or some man-made global warming into this, but the projection is that this may be the warmest year on record. Not ever. Make sure you understand that when they start saying that. It's not the warmest year ever. It's the warmest year on record. And honestly, if you look and do the research, most around the world, not just here in the United States, but around the world, most records on weather temperatures don't go back much more than 100 to 150 years. In some places, only a quarter century. So that's not saying a whole lot, but it is saying that we're going to experience a hot year. We already are in many places. Southern Florida has just been experiencing crazy heat. I know down in Texas, down the Southwest, they have too. I've even heard of up north, Canada and Alaska, and places that's already getting a lot warmer than it needs to be. And so that is going to greatly affect how you produce food. Also, rain. I mean, we've actually been having quite a bit of rain here lately, so that's a good thing. And like I said, starting I think about Wednesday for about a 7-8 day period, it's just solid rain in the forecast. That's a good thing, but that may not last. And there's also a lot of predictions of potential droughts this year in various places, which is something we have been experiencing the last several years. And if you've watched and noticed, it started out several years back just in California, and it's progressed its way eastward to where now in my state, right along that Mississippi River, even into Tennessee, are starting to experience some very, very hot, dry spells during the summer. Is it man-made? Not meaning like you and I because we're burping driving SUVs, but like, weather manipulation. Yeah, probably some weather manipulation. Is it part of a cycle that the earth just does? Yeah, probably. Is it because of the sun? Yeah, and maybe it's all of it. Maybe that's the conspiracy. I don't know. Maybe the conspiracy is that the elites know that there's natural things happening, so they're going to add to it. The bottom line is, though, is that we have to make adjustments to our production of food. You can no longer, if you've been gardening like myself your whole life, you can't just go out there and plant a garden in the way that you did 20, 30 years ago and take care of it, tend to that garden all year long in the same way. You may have to adjust the when you plant it. You may have to adjust the soil. You may have to adjust the types of plants. Things may get to where you need to be planting stuff that's more drought tolerant, that's more heat tolerant. In fact, I actually do that. I've been the last couple of years looking for plants because drought tolerant plants isn't something that anyone really needs to grow in the area that I live in here in the Ozarks. I mean, look, it's all lush and green. But as it gets to that point, we might need to. So in my seed stocking up, we have a very large, it's like a foot locker. And that's what we keep our seeds organized in. I've made videos on that a long time ago, but I've started doing research on drought-tolerant plants, heat-tolerant plants that we wouldn't normally need to grow here, but we might need to start planting. And so I've been stocking up on those kinds of seeds. Been researching, and it's not like no one ever knows how to do this, because there's obviously places that people produce food that are way more drier and hotter than where I live. So I research what it's like there, in more arid places, and more heat. What would it be like what did they do? What types of soils, what types of ground cover and compost? Do they use shade cloth? All of these, how much water, how are they irrigating? Is there some little technique that they figured out because it works better because it's hotter there? This is something that we may all have to start adjusting to. Now, those of you that live in those hot areas, you're just gonna have to adjust it even being hotter. But for the rest of us in the Midwest and the South and that kind of places, North even, you're going to have to make some adjustments. This is going to become more and more serious. Our food supply is completely broken, and I don't mean that in the sense that it's broken as it getting to your table. You can still get food. There's still supplies out there. It's the quality of that food. Virtually all food that you would buy in a grocery store is either at the very least really unhealthy for you to eat, and at the most it's just flat out poison. And that's just saying that based on the chemicals and the ingredients that's put in it. That's not even going to the point of saying all this genetic modification and bioengineering and gene splicing and mRNA technology in food, all that kind of stuff, because that's here and it's coming more and more. We have to become food independent, folks. I get accused often anymore, I don't know why, of just being the doom and gloom guy, when I think I'm probably one of the only preparedness channels that puts out positive, uplifting, and encouraging videos often also. But I'm telling you, this is not trying to be some doom and gloom scare tactic. This is serious. Our food supply is absolutely destroyed. It's not really being destroyed. It is destroyed. I saw something the other day that Whole Foods, many of you know we don't have a Whole Foods around us, but I've been to one several times. You know what a Whole Foods is. They're all that real crunchy, healthy, organic, natural kind of place, right? Do you know about 75% of all the stuff sold in Whole Foods has seed oils in it? Seed oils is horrible. It's one of the most toxic things that you can eat, and it's in everything. In a regular grocery store, it's probably in the 90%, unless you're just buying a head of cabbage or a carrot. The stuff that's in our foods, it's what's making us weak. It's what's feminizing us. It's what's making us poor health, fat, all this disease-ridden. It's because of the ingredients in our food. That's one of their ways of manipulating, controlling us. And now they're wanting to splice in, you know, swine this and, you know, lizard this and all this kind of stuff into our foods. It's absolutely absurd. That's a way to manipulate and control us. You folks have to be focusing on that. That has to be such a high priority. You know, if you sit down and you're like, I can only afford to do one of two things, or I can only physically do one of two things, and that's grow food or buy guns. As much as some of you think that I'm an insane person, I would say grow food. I really would. Grow food and work towards buying guns, because you need to be growing food now. The reason is, a big thing is it takes, there's practice to it. There's an art. There's a little bit of science to growing food. It's you don't just throw some seeds in the ground and then expect food. It's going to take you a while to develop that soil. If you take a raw ground, meaning say there's never been a garden spot there, on average it takes 4 to 5 years to develop that soil into a good, healthy soil to produce food. It's going to take you a few years to figure out how to grow things, how the weather is, just in general. Then you got to learn how to harvest, how to save your seeds, how to preserve the food. There's a huge amount of learning going on there, and if you've never done it before, or it's been a while, you need to be doing it right now, because food is something that you're doing for the future, growing food. And what if something happens or starts to happen later on this summer or fall and you didn't plant a garden? You probably can quickly go out and buy a gun, but you can't quickly go out and grow a garden. And so you need to be producing that food. You need to be meat. Meat is absolutely super important. In fact, maybe more important than the vegetables. Chicken, it's a simple, easy way to grow. Lamb, goat, that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not even going to get into the bigger ones. If you have enough land and knowledge to grow larger animals, then you already know how to do it. But there are smaller animals you can grow in smaller plots that are easy to manage and easy to produce the food, you know, butcher and process it. Folks, this has to be a super high priority for you. You really, really need to be working on it. If you live in an apartment, grow everything. You just fill your little balcony and your living room with potted plants of food. Don't worry about the pretty stuff. Grow some food, folks. And learn to adjust on how you grow in it, because of the weather, because of the manipulation, because of the pesticides and everything else. Because it is changing how gardens produce. And we have to be making producing as much food as we can, because that's going to be one big thing that they use to manipulate and control everyone, is food. And don't let that one be you, because that's something that you can, it's an easy fix, folks. I mean, it's not easy as in workload, but it's simple. You just produce your own food, and then they can't control you. It's time to get our houses in order, folks. You need to be preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.